Hi and thank you for joining me. Today we are talking about the OPs. Now when I say OPs, I do not mean old age pensioner. I do not mean original poster. I mean overpowered. Welcome to week 4 of Isekai month, and yes, today we are talking about the overpowered, the incredibly strong, the crazy skills of Isekai. We have a whole bunch to share with you today, so just before we get into it, if you haven't already, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and check out my social media and affiliate links found down below. First up, we have the hero is overpowered but overly cautious. In this series, the gods and goddesses of this universe are tasked with finding heroes to protect worlds, and they kind of have a big pile of papers with different potential heroes and their qualities and stuff, and I think they're given here is the world that you need to save, go and find an appropriate hero. And our goddess here, Restart, I assume, is it a play on the word restart? Restarte, not sure, is tasked with saving an S-ranked world. She is pouring through all of the stacks of paper with different candidates on them, when in a fit of annoyance because she's unable to find the perfect candidate, she starts throwing the papers around, and one kind of gets caught in her face, and it is the hero of the series. She's intrigued because his stats are insanely good, even though he's only level 1, so she's like, yep, he's gonna be my hero. And when she summons him, it becomes evident he's, as the title says, a little cautious. Unsurprisingly, at the beginning, he doesn't believe her, and then he does start to believe her, and then he's like, right, fine, if I'm going to go to save this world, I'm going to prepare. To which he then kind of just locks himself away and starts training. He's like, is there a deadline? Do we need to head off soon? And she's like, no, we've got a bit of time. And he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to go train. And he just kind of grinds. It's like when you play an RPG and you just grind your levels. He kind of is doing that. It's just, I'm going to be overly cautious. You say I need to be about a level 10 to start off with, I'm going to be level 40. Honestly, super relatable. And it kind of continues on with that when they do eventually go down to the planet they're trying to save, and he realizes that one of the fights he tries to do, he isn't powered up enough. He turns to the goddesses take us back to the goddess realm where time moves a little slower, so he's able to grind and level up even more, get back to the planet, and almost no time has passed and he's way more stronger. It's just very silly, overpowered isekai with also some kind of skill tree. It's not overly intense compared to some other series, but it does have statuses and stats and stuff. And I really like the relationship between the goddess and the hero, of her being like, come on, let's go, let's move, let's go, and he's like, wait. I quite like the dynamic. It reminds me a little bit of Kazuma and Aqua from Konosuba, except the hero isn't a shit and the goddess is also a little less shit. Currently there are 5 volumes out in English, and according to my research, it completes at 6 volumes of manga. Is that right? I'm not sure if that's right or not, so do take that with a pinch of salt. But there is also a light novel if you're interested, as well as an anime. Actually, one of the few series where I have seen a few episodes of the anime because I enjoyed the manga, so I tried to get Ben to watch some of it. I think he enjoyed it. So far I've given this an 8.67 out of 10. Next up we have, this is screwed up, but I was reincarnated as a girl in another world. I'll be honest, when I first heard the title I was like, I hope it's not too gross. I don't think it is, really, to be fair. I think it's more just a guy on Earth has been isekai'd as a girl, and he's like, oh my god, I'm a girl. They've been given a skill where they're able to do kind of Minecraft-y stuff. They're able to craft things, even things that they just can think of. So I want to craft a house or create seeds and stuff, and depending on how you try to do it will change how much mana you use up, basically. So if you already have the raw ingredients, it's not too bad, but if you need to conjure the ingredients, it's a bit harder. Say you want to build a house, if you've got all the lumber and nails and stuff, it's less bad, but if you need to conjure the whole thing, that's quite intensive. So this guy's just been isekai'd into the body of a girl in this random world, and he's like, oh dear, what do I do? At least he's got these skills that he can navigate around. He They slowly start to adapt. They build a house, they learn a bit more about their skills, they start doing some gardening, they befriend a massive wolf thing that becomes like their familiar. Mum and cub pairing is super adorable. And it's kind of just them ambling about living in this world. There isn't any like aggressively ongoing plot line other than they're trying to recreate some of the things from their past life, like particular foods and stuff. Mayonnaise always seems to be popular, but also other food dishes, which is always neat to see in manga. I do want to clarify, this is not a plastic wrap manga, but there are definite adult moments in it. They like to have some alone time. You don't see anything, but it is talked about a fair amount, and they craft some toys and stuff. So yeah, there is adult stuff talked about. You don't see anything. It always kind of mostly fades away, I think. Sometimes you might occasionally see them in like lingerie. But I must say, of all the like random isekai I have read last year, this has been one of my favorites. Like a lot of them I found after the first volume or two, it kind of drifted a little bit, but this one has been one that I have really looked forward to every new volume. So I definitely say it is one of the better weird title ones that's come out. At the moment there are 6 volumes out in English, though I have misplaced my volume 5. I'm not sure where I've put it. I think I've read it as well. I don't know. I am in the middle of rearranging and reorganizing my manga, so it's probably just been put at the bottom of a pile somewhere. So I have 1 to 4 and 6 here, 6 being quite a recent one. In fact, I think 7's actually just come out. I swear to God, some isekai comes out like so quickly, and then some comes out every 2 to 3 years. Also, according to my research, this is currently on like 17 volumes in Japan. Wow, that is a lot. That is a lot for isekai. There aren't too many that have gone above 20 volumes of manga, I feel. Overall, I have given this series a 7.4 out of 10. I know, like, I talked about how much I enjoyed it, and it's like, well, it's only a 7.4. I feel like my ratings aren't always the best gauge, because sometimes it depends on my mood, and often I'll rate things in comparison to itself, to its own series, as opposed to across everything I read. I don't know. I have no idea how I do my ratings. It's just, what do I feel? What do I feel for this one? But I do still enjoy this one, and I do recommend it. Next up, we have got I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too. I must say, before I talk about the actual series, this series has one of the worst spine layouts I feel in my manga collection. Hopefully it's focused for you. Reading that is just confusing. In this series, we have our main character who is a little short, he's a little chubby, and he's bullied a lot. He's bullied at school, he's bullied by his siblings, his parents don't really care. The only person in his life who really cares for him is his grandpa. Unfortunately, his grandpa passes away at the beginning of the series and leaves him a house. I think. House? Yeah, leaves him a house. He kind of ends up staying there to get away from all the bullies, people being mean to him, and he finds a door, and when he goes through to it, it leads him to another world. So when he goes to this door to this other world, he's kind of in like another little hut cottage thingy, and he kind of goes outside all confused, like, where am I? Am I in another world? He seems to be able to use appraise to check his own skills and stats and stuff. And then a monster turns up and looks like it's about to attack the house. And he decides the only thing he can do, obviously, is to use the weapons lying around and beat it up. And he's able to, and he levels up. Very confused, he goes back through the door, goes to sleep, wakes up. He looks like a completely different person. He now looks like this guy here. He's grown, lost weight, looks hot, lots of powers, skills and stuff all overnight. Kind of reminds me a little bit of what happens in like Kiss Him Not Me. It's just like an instant lose weight sort of deal. And of course, which does always feel a bit gross, the whole if you lose weight, now you're hot. Ugh. Regardless, he's very confused, doesn't really realise what's happening, continues on like his daily life to begin with. But obviously, he looks different and people are treating him differently now, and he keeps doing miraculous things in in our world, and then he also keeps popping back to fight monsters and stuff in this other world. So he keeps going back and forth doing cool things, and he's got lots of cool skills and stuff, and any skills he's been learning in the other world he's also able to use in this world, so he's getting a lot stronger, smarter, knows things, able to do things that he couldn't do before. And I think it's a neat series for an isekai where they can come and go as they please between different worlds. There aren't too many of those that I've read so far, and it's fun. It's not great. There's a lot of stuff that happens which it feels like it's happening too cleanly. Like some of the retribution that happens to the characters that have been mean to him always seem to happen like really nicely. Now, I cannot tell a lie, I love that. I love when things happen or people meet. There's good consequences for the bad people, even if they're all just a bit too convenient. I still love reading about that. I don't care. I want to see the bad people, like, suffer. So personally, for me, that sort of thing is actually a plus. I can understand it might put other people off, though. Currently, there are 3 volumes out in print. Look, we've got some nice colours there, don't we? I've not yet read my volume 3, and I'm not sure when volume 4 comes out. Apparently, there is an anime currently airing, if that does interest you. Currently, I've given this series an 8 out of 10. Our next series is The Saint's magic power is Omnipotent. Omnipotent? Omnipotent? I'm going to say Omnipotent going forward. Now, at first, I wasn't too sure if I felt this could properly fit into the lines of OP, but I am going to slip it in because I want to, and it's my video. In this isekai, we start off with our main character here. She is isekai. She is summoned. She is, I think, walking home or something. So she just gets home and is suddenly summoned, and she is suddenly in like a grand hall surrounded like lots of people. As she's trying to get her bearings, suddenly a guy rushes forward to a woman who is also on the ground next to her, starts calling her the saint, starts saying how nice it is to meet her, helps her up, and then runs out the door with her, and a whole bunch of other people in the room follow him. What we eventually learn as a reader is that they were attempting to summon a saint because the country was in need of one, and they summoned 2 women. The guy who rushed forward to the other woman on the ground was one of the princes. He saw her, decided she was the saint, grabbed her and ran off, leaving this poor woman behind on the floor. Whose name is Sei, by the way. I just can't, I'm so bad at remembering names. Her name is Sei. I hope that's how you pronounce it. She kind of is hanging around the castle for a while. They're like, what do we do with her? Because we've got the other woman, what do we do with this one? She sort of starts to amble around. They kind of don't want her to go far, but she starts to amble around. She kind of ends up making friends with some people from the research institute while she's walking around the gardens. And eventually she ends up being able to help out and create potions and stuff at the research institute, and eventually moves in there as a permanent researcher. It starts to become clear though towards the end of volume 1 that perchance she might have some more overpowered abilities than first thought. It was thought the other woman was the saint, had the abilities, and she was just an accidental spare, but there are questions on whether or not is that the way round it actually is? Which is why I feel like it's a bit loose on if she's overpowered or not. There are some things that happen later on in the story, but I don't want to get too spoilery. I mostly want to talk about the contents of volume 1. Lots more stuff does happen. It gets a lot more juicy. I definitely recommend. I really, really enjoy the series. Also, our main character is in her 30s. We don't get many female 30s characters, I feel, in manga, so when we do, woo! There are some actiony scenes later on in the series, but most of the time it's about our character navigating this new world she's in and becoming a researcher and learning more about creating potions. So far, there are 7 volumes out in English, published by 7 Seas. There is also a spin-off series called The Other Saint, which focuses on, as you might be able to tell from the title, the other saint that is summoned at the same time as our main character. My only warning for this is you probably need to read about 5-ish volumes. There is a moment in the main series where this one starts from, so you need to have read so much for it to become, so you don't get confused reading this, I feel. And I think it's about 5 volumes, maybe 6 to be safe, but there is a very keen moment and that's where this starts. I really, really wish there was somewhere like really clear and obvious, like maybe when they advertised spin-offs where they were like, once you've read this volume, you can read this volume, woo! Maybe I should make that video. This currently has 2 volumes out. I've not read the second one. I did like reading the first one, but again, you need to have read the main series. There is also a light novel. Ben does not have volume 1, but he does have volume 2. And one of my favourite things about the light novel manga of this series is often when you buy a buying series that have light novels and manga, it can be a bit difficult to tell the difference. Say you're on a website and it doesn't say light novel or manga, it just says Saint's Magic Power 2, and you're like, okay, is this a light novel or the manga? What I really like is on the cover, the font, the text of the series is red on light novels and bluey green on the manga, so it's really quite clear when you look at it what the difference is. Even if the artwork wasn't different, the colour of the text is, and I really like that, and I'd love to see more series doing that sort of thing. I think that's a wonderful way to differentiate quickly at a glance which one is which. So far I've given this series an 8.14 out of 10, and also this is the volume I am giving away on this week's Isekai video, woo! To enter the giveaway for this video, as always, make sure that you like the video, you're subscribed to my channel, and also I need you to comment down below something that contains the word omnipotent. Omnipotent, and this is how you spell it, omnipotent, make sure you spell it correctly, so that you are entered, and you will win volume 1 of this. I really do love it. I really recommend it. Please do try it. Next series is Chilling in Another World with level 2 super cheat powers. So this isekai actually starts off already in a fantasy world. When he is isekai'd to another fantasy world. When he is isekai'd, he is kind of scanned or something, and it is determined that actually he doesn't have any powers. Now, they're like, what do we do? Because we isekai someone, we summon someone, whatever, and they're supposed to have a power, and we need to use that power to be able to fight other nations. He doesn't have any. They kind of decide to dispose of him. They send him out. He does does he get away? Okay, so he's not like, he doesn't get away. He's kind of taken out to a forest and then dumped, and like, off you go. Try and survive sort of deal. And he has no abilities. But the first monster he runs into is a slime. And as we all know, slimes are the easiest enemies to beat up. Beats up a slime, goes up 1 level, and what happens? He unlocks all these super crazy abilities. Like with the title, level 2 super cheat powers. So yeah, he has all these sudden really insane abilities now that he's level 2. Kind of starts to try and establish a home for himself, build a house, have some patches for growing food. Another enemy then attacks him, this sort of wolf thing, and it's quite strong. He doesn't want to kill it, he's trying to just hold it off, and eventually the wolf yields and is like, fine, I give up, I can't beat you. Wolf suddenly turns into a woman, and basically, I think they get married. I think they pretend to be married for some reason, but she's like the wolf lady's become like head over heels with him, and they get married. Lots of swirliness on this. He just wants to live a normal life, live chill, build a house, grow some food, be alright. But he keeps sort of using these godlike powers to do things, and it keeps attracting people, so they end up like moving the house around a bit and trying to stay away, and yeah, just them trying to live while other people are trying to find them is kind of the story so far from what I've read. Another isekai where I feel like the title is still, it sounds really dumb, but it's actually still a pretty good read. This is actually a series where IRL friend of mine recommended it to me before it got a physical print, and I was very annoyed. And then it did get a physical print, I was like, wonderful. Currently I have 5 volumes of the manga, though I have a feeling 6 is probably out by now. So far I've given this series a 7.67 out of 10. Next we have I've Been Killing Slimes 300 Years and Maxed Out My Level. This is, I feel, one of the titles that when you tell someone a silly isekai title, this is one of the ones you say because of how long it is, and it sort of tells you the full story. It's kind of as the title says, this woman is isekai'd, and when I think she's talking to God about where she's going to live and how she's going to look, she's like, I want to look like a young girl, and I want to have a house on the outskirts of a town, and I want to be an immortal witch and just live and chill and not have any responsibilities. And God's like, yep, cool, let's do that. And then what happens is, like, on her trips into town, she encounters slimes. There's a big pile of slimes between her home and town, so every day she just takes out the slimes that are in her way and then carries on to town. Now, after doing this for 300 years, She has inadvertently gotten very powerful. It's not very much, but it's like accumulated. And yeah, she's super duper powerful now without realizing, and she's like, I just want a quiet life. But now she's sort of built this reputation as this all-powerful witch, and people are now trying to come to her to seek help. Over the course of the series, a variety of other characters end up moving into the house with her. I think they're all female, so it's a pretty much all-female cast ultimately for the story. It reminds me a little bit of like Laid Back Camp, that kind of all-female cast. It's a very cute, light-hearted series. There are a few, like, I wouldn't even call them high-stakes moments. There aren't really any high-stakes moments. It's very just chill. As I said, it reminded me a lot of like Laid Back Camp, with the like calm attitude and predominantly female cast is what I was trying to say. Problem for me is sometimes I find it gets a bit too chill. I am a few volumes behind because I've just not been in the mood to read like super chill series at the moment. Ben has been up to date and he says, yeah, it's calming just to read it sometimes. I currently have 9 volumes of the manga, though I do know 10 is out at the moment, so I am behind. There is also a prequel manga called I Was a Bottom-tier Bureaucrat for 1500 Years and the Demon King Made Me a Minister. And this is a complete series at 3 volumes, and it is a prequel series telling the story about how some of the characters ended up where they are by the time we get to the main series. And then we also have the light novel here, which definitely has a bit more less cutesy art style, I feel, than the manga does, but it's still fairly cutesy. I don't think Ben started reading it yet. Most of them I think have been secondhand. This is definitely secondhand. It's a bit battered. So far I've given this a 7.75 out of 10. Also, I think it does have an anime. Final series of the video is Overlord. Overlord is a very classic Isekai. Our main character is a big fan of this MMO game, but unfortunately the servers are being taken offline and it will no longer be able to be played. So to commemorate it, he decides to stay online and sort of sit in his, like, I was gonna say clubhouse, but clubhouse feels a little, doesn't quite explain the grandeur of the guild hall house thing, mansion thing. Decides to sit in there and wait out the clock countdown until the game is shut off. And one of the reasons he was so fond of the game was he had a group of friends that he used to play it with. I don't think they knew each other like in real life, but they knew each other and were quite close in the game. There were also quite a number of NPCs people playing the game had created. They created the AI for them, named them, created the characters, so they were all quite like close even if they were just NPCs. By the time the clock is like within the last couple of minutes, few seconds or so, he is the last person from the guild left. No one else has turned up, or they have already left, so he is on his own with a few of the NPCs. He decides for fun to change the code of one of them, just so I think she was like head over in love with him just for the last few seconds. He was like, for funsies, why not? And then when the clocks hit 0, nothing happens, and he's a bit confused. And then he realizes he can't log out, and then he realizes everything feels a bit real. So yeah, basically he's been trapped in the game, and for realsies this time. So far from what I've read, he is currently trying to track down and see if there are any other players from his guild stuck in this world as well. He changes his name to Ainz, which is the name of their guild. Is it the name of the guild? Or of the guild hall? Guild hall or guild. Just so if his name spreads around, it becomes a lot easier for them. They'd recognise the name a lot easier, I think. There is a reason this is one of the more popular isekai out there. It is a very well written, very overpowered, fun, video game stuck series. Is there a cat behind me? This is actually, I think, Ben's favourite isekai at the moment. He is completely up to date with the light novels and he very much loves it. And he's been on my case to try and catch up with the manga. At the moment, I am very not up to date with the series. I have like 1 to 6, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14. I do actually have 17. It's just hiding away in my June haul before I film that. So I do have a few gaps, so I am quite behind. Ben is up for helping me get those missing volumes though, because he wants me to read it as well. There is also a spin-off series called Overlord, the Undead King. Oh, and I do only have volume 7 because it was an accidental pick up. As you saw, I am missing volume 7 of the main series, so I was like, oh, 7! And then it was a mistake. But it is a gag for coma style silly manga. If you're interested in the main series and you like that kind of thing, there is also this. This is on like 10, 11 volumes though, it's crazy. And for the light novel really does look quite different to the manga. They have these like really cool, artistic, dark, like almost like paintings for the covers, and they're nice, like big hardbacks. Really, really completely different to the manga. They're very hard to mix up. So this is on like 15 or 16 light novels, and Ben does have them all, and it's like, he gets it and reads it. It's really quick. Loves it. And also an anime. I think he's been watching the anime as well. So far I've given this series an 8 out of 10. There we have it. 7 overpowered series for you to try at home. And once again, if you are interested in winning Saint's Magic Power, comment down below the word Omnipotent in some way or another. I really enjoyed seeing all the weird toilet comments on the previous video, so I would love to see some really great Omnipotent comments on this one. And be sure to subscribe for more videos. Next week we will have my favourite isekai ever. My favourite isekais. It's going to be a bit of a longer video because I keep adding series. It's a bit of a problem, but I'm going to have a great time filming it, so that's all that matters. So hopefully you'll have a great time watching it. I got a cat behind me again. Oof. No! Someone was being naughty. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out my social media and affiliate links found down below. And I will see you next week for more isekai. Bye bye! Bye bye! I was gonna say how long you can let me do that, you know?